What's up, guys? Now, I'm going to be talking to you about the online schooling programs that I chose for my kiddos. Now, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Now, I would say when my son was in his sixth grade, my daughter, she was going to go to school like a year after. She was going to be in kindergarten. I chose to go through the virtual online school here in my county. Now, it was fine, but I knew when that next year came around, I had to choose a program that would be basically for both of them. So I started looking up programs, and I went over a lot of programs, but I ended up choosing K-12 just because it seemed like everything was going to be a little bit easier. Now, K-12 starting out in the beginning, it was great. It was great for my son because he was going through the middle school program, and it just seemed like it was the best alternative for him. They ended up staying in K-12 for 2 years. Now, my daughter's teacher in K-12, she was phenomenal. She was great. Oh my God, to be a kindergarten teacher through an online platform, that had to be a beast within itself. But I mean, he made it so much easier. And my daughter went from being really shy, and my daughter knew a nice little amount, but when I tell you, this teacher, she brought it out of her. She brought it out of her. I don't even know what else to say past that, but that teacher with K-12, she was great. Now, my son's middle school time with K-12, it was great. It was a little hard looking for certain things because dealing with K-12 in my state, let me put it like that because it may not be the same in every state, but dealing with K-12 in the state that I'm in, they had so many different places when it came to middle school where you could look for work. It was almost nerve wracking. You could go through the D2L or the OLS, I forgot which one you call it. I believe it was the D2L, and the OLS was for like the elementary kids. Now, you had the D2L, you had the Google Classroom, and you also had like checklists. I hated that because your child could end up getting a zero in something, and the teachers there, they never really, with middle school, they never really updated grades the way they were supposed to. And once the grade was in the book, they didn't like going back and changing it, and it was just so many different problems. That was like, no. Now, with connections, when it comes to your child completing work or anything like that, when your child completes work that day and they're doing any type of quiz, you're gonna know how they did on that quiz right then. And their grades are updated every night at like around midnight. I think it's Eastern Standard Time, so like 11 p.m. our time. You can see what their percentages are, what their grades are, if they missed anything, it's on there, and they'll let you know that, to say for instance, if you have your work on everything. And this is something that I love about connections, because when we registered and my kids were actually put in the system at connections, all of their work was pre-populated, so everything was already there. They told people, don't start ahead of time because you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but the work is already pre-populated, and it goes all the way up until the break that's in December. So once your child gets in and they start doing stuff, they can literally go through and complete assignments whenever they feel like it. Now, they have to go in order, but you can complete work whenever you feel like it. And that's something that I love about connections. Now, with K-12, something that I could not vibe with them was having to go to their class connects, because that's what they call them. Having your child to go to their class connects and with us being in the Central Standard Time Zone, my sons and daughters' first class would start at 8 a.m. from 8 to 9. Then they had one from 9 to 10. And then they had like 3 other classes. So in all, on any given day, they could have from 4 to 5 classes. That was from kindergarten all the way up to their high school. Now, where I stay, they had to get rid of their high school program because that's a whole different story. Bash one, but I'm glad they got rid of that high school program because the school is not that well put together. Teachers and stuff started to leave, but hey, y'all for that. But when it comes to dealing with scheduling and different things of that sort, your child has to be in that class connect. So if it's any doctor's appointments for you or your child, or something has to be done in the morning time, if you feel like you need to get up and go, you need to go on vacation, it happen at your house, your child has to be there for those class connects. And the class connects can go from anywhere from an hour to an hour and 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Now, when it comes to Connections Academy, they call their live classroom sessions, they call them live lessons. And how they do that, how basically they do that is they have all the kids come into that live lesson. If they choose, their live lessons are not required. K-12, their class connects are required, and it's a smaller class size. But with Connections Academy, basically they have that one class connect for English, one for math, or one for algebra, and one for the rest of the subjects within like 9th grade, within 10th grade. Everyone come in, you can ask questions, they go over whatever the lesson will be around for that week of the child completing their work. It's not required. Now, it would be a good thing if you are thinking about Connection to let your child go to at least one of those class connects every 2 weeks, because they have to make sure that basically your child is doing what they're supposed to. They have to know that your child is there, so they'll just tell the child, click the link, come in, let me know you here, answer a couple questions, or say hi, just so we know you here, and that's it. So Connections Academy is easier on scheduling, and if you have something to do, if you have doctor's appointments, or your kids, this may be late risers, don't do the real early, and they're more productive in the afternoon. So that's why I found Connections Academy great. It's because I have to deal with appointments with my mom, their grandmother, and with her appointments, and everything else that happens in between. Connections Academy just made more sense. Now, if you have the time to actually sit, you may find out K-12 is for you. K-12 is totally not for me, with the scheduling and the way they do homework. No. And yeah, I just find it so much easier. And let's see, with K-12, you only have to do attendance for PE. With Connections Academy, you have to do attendance for that whole day. So basically every morning when you go in, just say if you want to look at your child's planner or you want to look at their grade book, you can go in, put in the attendance for however many kids you have. You don't even have to do it for, I have 2 kids, so I put it up that one time, it goes for both of the kids, and I'm off. I look at their planner, see what they have to do, if they have any alarms or anything that pops up, and I check my messages, and I'm back out of there. So yeah. Now with K-12, it was a couple issues with their messaging system. Whatever messaging system that it is that they're used, or they were using, or still using, I'm not sure if they are using it now, it was always a problem. We responded, and it was always something with the system, they say, on their end. With Connections Academy, you don't have to worry about that. So just say, for instance, you email the teacher and you didn't hear anything back. They have a telephone number that you can call. In that same telephone number, you can send a text message. And if you don't get some type of feedback that way, they have other steps that you can take to go to the higher ups. I put it like that. So it's so much easier. And also, a thing that I love with Connections, if you or your child is having a problem, they have a link that you can click on and you can schedule a time, any time that teacher have available for the next day, for that day, for the week, for the month. It can be 3 months down the road. You can schedule a time to speak with that teacher at that time. It can be you or your student, and I love that because we haven't had any problems now, but I feel like having so many different ways to talk to the teacher makes everything so much easier. So if the emailing system not working, you can call, you can text, and it's like you have documentation. So if emailing don't work, you can call. If calling don't work, you can text. If text don't work, you hit the link. So it's so many different ways to document things that's going on. I mean, it's straight up phenomenal. Now, K-12, they use a platform called Blackboard and Zoom for their classroom settings. Well, when the child come in to the class connects. And let's see, Connections use Adobe. And so that's one of the bigger differences too, because when your child comes in to a live lesson, they can pop their camera on and they can sit there and it feels like a classroom setting, other than going on Zoom or something like that. And yeah, that's all of that I can think about. Now, if you are looking for kind of like, I don't want to say the laid back approach, but it's kind of like the easier route. And if you have more things to do in your day and you know that your child's schedule and your schedule is kind of all over the place, Connections Academy is best when it comes to the live lessons. When it comes to the homework, I mean, I would give them a A+ because everything is already pre-populated. When it comes to K-12, if you are looking for something to duplicate, I would say, the traditional school, and you want to have your child on a set schedule, K-12 would be best for that. And it's a smaller class, and they have like 4 classes throughout the day. With Connections, they can have up to 3 or 4, but your child don't have, the live lessons are not required. With Connections, like I said, if you choose to go with Connections, it's good for your child to at least show up once every 2 weeks, just for the teacher to see your child's face, say something in chat, just so the teacher knows you're there. But yeah, I chose Connections for that reason. It's like the flexibility, and they're able to complete their work. They actually understand, things are not all over the place. Now, I've heard K-12 in other states, is really, really good, but where I stay at, K-12 was going through K-12, one of their programs, one of their schools, it was trash. My daughter's kindergarten teacher was the best thing throughout those 2 years, because she actually sat down and, sat by the kids and actually helped them out. But every other aspect of the school that I went through K-12 with, not K-12, but it was a school that I went through with K-12, that school was trash. My state, we had people that tried their best to help out, but yeah, I will be back with another video shortly.